Welcome back, and thank you for participating in the Business Enhancement Series, presented by Efficiency United and Semco Energy Gas Company. In the next section, we're going to be talking about networking, connecting with success. Earlier, we talked about prospecting with cold calls. According to Tom Hopkins, author of Sales Prospecting for Dummies, closing ratio for non-qualified leads, or cold calls, is 10% at best. So we learned a lot about rejection and frustration. So what about referrals? They tend to have around a 60% close rate. And sometimes they just come right to you, pre-sold. We're going to address some of the misconceptions that most people have about the purpose of networking. If we don't do this, then the tactics we work on later won't even make sense if they're focused on the wrong concepts. So those who believe that networking equals sales are looking for their prospect whenever they're in a networking opportunity. This tactic has a number of disadvantages. So we've learned defenses against being sold. We ignore interruptive advertising, we skip commercials, and hang up on telemarketers. Many other people at the networking event have the same misconception, and you end up pitching to each other. So even if there are buyers present, which is probably unlikely, selling during a networking opportunity is like selling door to door with 17 other people while every house is having a party. Looking at networking this way means that either the other person is a prospect or they're not worth talking to. Let me give you a scenario. You're at a networking event, you meet two people. Person A is a potential customer. He has a house, he'd like to be more energy efficient. Person B seems to be a nice guy, but he isn't really a prospect to you. Maybe he rents a place that is out of your territory, so which one do you talk to? Follow-up scenario, what if person B's wife owns 10 apartment complexes, all of which are in desperate need of updating for energy efficiency? Would you change that answer? If you do networking properly, though, you'll end up with more sales. So we decided networking is not sales. So is it marketing? Those who focus on this definition are just looking for an audience. They want to tell everybody about everything they do and who they help. And again, there are a lot of disadvantages there. We start sounding like a commercial. Again, those on the receiving end know how to ignore commercials, right? In social situations, our network opportunities, we find people who talk solely about themselves to be bores, and we end up avoiding them. Since people are either ignoring us or actively avoiding us because of our behavior, this tactic tends to be counterproductive. If the only way they talk about us is that annoying guy at the chamber breakfast, we're not really serving our business or our reputation well. Done properly, though, networking will mean that more people will know who you are. So, networking is about relationship development. Bob Berg said, networking is the process of developing long-term, mutually beneficial give and take relationships. So a good definition. We aren't looking for clients or an audience. We're looking for allies, champions, and friends. We're creating relationships that will connect us to resources and opportunities that we might not have otherwise. Benefits are a side effect of building these connections first. So we want more sales with networking. Instead of having to prospect and sell to each client individually, we now have connections who want to see us succeed. They will connect us to the best prospects, those who already know they need our products and services. We want better word of mouth? Well, those same connections will talk about us to other networks. The benefit to that is if we did all the talking, that would be bragging, and most people can't connect with that. When someone else talks about us, though, that's called a testimonial, and that tends to attract others to us. Can we agree that networking is not about sales and marketing, but more about relationship development? Or at least for the purposes of our conversations today. Networking seems like a good idea, so where's the best place to network? Well, there's no one answer to this. It really depends on three factors. Your target market. In order for this to be useful, It has to be specific and exactly as possible. What does that mean? You need to be able to find a group or event which supports your business category or the category that you're going after. Your target market is not anyone who wants to pay for my services. Look for something that has a natural group or trade association. In general, there's no association of energy efficiency buyers. However, there is a national association of residential property managers. Next, once you've identified your target market, then you can find associations or other groups which contain those prospects. So local chapters of national trade associations, complementary organizations, become a member of maybe your potential customer base's group, neighborhood groups, homeowners associations. If you don't know, find a member of your target market and ask them what groups they belong to. Join these groups to be seen as an active servant of the group. You want to be seen as someone who has special understanding of their needs and is helpful. For example, if your customers are property managers on the west side of the state, you could become an active member of the Property Management Association of West Michigan. What we've talked about so far is networking with your prospects. Now we'll talk about networking with those who can refer your prospects to you, your referral sources. So knowing your target market, what other professionals serve that same market but don't compete with you? So if you're an electrical contractor, a plumbing contractor might be a good referral source. Doesn't necessarily have to be from the trades. How about a real estate agent? Come up with 2 or 3 potential referral sources and jot them down. Ask your target market. In fact, it might be a good idea to have a list of these categories and people whom you trust to fill them. That way you can be a resource for the customer and a valued partner to your referral partners. So attending the event is only the first step. You've got to follow up or you might as well not have gone at all. Ironically, most people fail at this point. They attend lots of events and then complain about not getting any results. Let's look at why that might be. Would you lend someone your car after a 5-minute conversation? Probably not. Why not? Even many 5-minute conversations probably isn't enough for that other person to trust us. If they wouldn't lend their car, why would they lend us their reputation? That's what referrals are, and that's what recommendations are all about. They're putting their good name on the line when they refer us. They have to know that we can be trusted. We need to create deeper relationships. That requires conversations that go further than the weather and what happened on TV last night. Ideally, these conversations would lead us to discovering ways we can be of service. So the next 5 slides are going to walk you through a conversational guideline which can help develop better relationships faster. We're going to spell out WIRED here. W. No, it doesn't stand for the weather. That doesn't create strong connections. W stands for their wants. What do they want for their professional success right now? You may have to help them with this, as most people will just say anyone who wants to pay me for my services. Do they need more employees? What types? More technicians? Back office? Part-time? Full-time? Maybe advice on breaking into a new market sector. Introductions for the same. I stands for their interests. What do they like to do when they're not selling their widgets? That might help you discover some common ground. Whether or not there's a common ground, this knowledge will allow us to connect them with their interests, information, and opportunities. We connect with them as a person, not just as a business. R stands for relationships. We have to be careful about this topic as people are very protective of their close relationships. We can't ask if their kids have problems with delinquency on the first meeting. As they get to know us better, though, they might begin to share these challenges with us. The best networkers are always looking for ways to help the family, find a job for a kid, childcare opportunities. If we help the family, we become family, and we get that same help and protection. E stands for evolution. How did they get from where they were to where they are, and why? In general, people like to talk about their path and inspiration that led them to that point. It's also important to know why they're doing what they do for creating great recommendations. Notice the difference. You want to hire Joe. He's a good electrical contractor. Or you want to hire Joe. He's been working as an electrician since he was a teenager. Apparently, he apprenticed with his father early, and ever since then, he sees his work as a way to honor his dad. D stands for their dreams. What are their personal hopes and dreams, plans and goals for the future? Do they want to travel? Where? Have you been there yourself? Are they looking for property up north? Do you know a great realtor who could help them? Connect them with their dreams, and they will do the same for you. So how do you ask for help and get referrals from the network you've created? Well, you have the tools. After a certain amount of work, you'll have a powerful network. Many of you already have one. Now, how do you get business out of it? Most of the time, we don't know how to ask. We feel uncomfortable with it. Why? Because the options for asking aren't comfortable for us. On one hand, it sometimes feels like begging, and that makes us less than the other person. We tend to avoid feeling like this, so we don't ask. The alternative to begging, especially if we've already provided some benefit to the other person, is to remind them of that benefit that you've provided and then expect them to reciprocate. This is kind of the Godfather approach. I have done you a favor, now you owe me a favor. You're holding yourself as the superior to the other person. Even if we chose to go this path, the results we would see would be limited at best. No one likes to feel coerced. We don't really like to be in this position either, so we tend to avoid it as well. So instead of begging or imposing, why not make an even trade? People tend to mirror what we say and do in conversations. How are you? I'm fine. How are you? Very simple example. But knowing this, if you ask how you can help them, you think they might turn around and ask how they could help you in return? You must be sincere to offer your help. They'll know if you aren't. If you want them to ask you, then you have to ask. If you want them to act, then you have to act, or at least have a sincere goal to do so. The biggest mistake people make is not being ready when the other person offers to help. Be prepared and know specifically what you want when they ask you. In the next section, we're going to talk about CRMs, Customer Relationship Management Tools, as the Business Enhancement Series presented by Efficiency United and Semco Energy Gas Company continues. Click the next video entitled Customer Relationship Management Tools.